Start.
Hi, Camtro. This is super awkward. I really don't want my face to be seen in the public and in the YouTube and stuff. So I'm gonna have my friend Banana here. He's having my glasses so you can come to know it's me. I'll be doing the presentation for today that I have been going through the case study throughout this semester. Where does your donation go? So throughout the daily life, we made a lot of opportunity being asked for donations in all different sorts of ways. So which charity is a better one to be given the money? All right, so in this case study, I have picked two of the massive international organizations. That is one UNICEF, second one is Médecins Sans Frontières. We're gonna quickly go through their background, mission, fundraising channel, and then we're gonna compare on the admin cost, fundraising cost, and the field cost. All right, that's not waste of time. We start with the UNICEF. UNICEF's the full form is United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. What they do is they promote the rights of every child. Doesn't matter age, religion, color, race. They work in 190 countries throughout the world. And their mission is basically covered in 3 points. Firstly, we talk about this the equity. Every child should have the same rights. Secondly, is they deliver the results as one. They work with all the UN agency and other partner to deliver the results just as one. And the last one is the results-based management, that anyhow, whatever they do, policies, strategies, they just want to see the results end of the day. All right, and let's quickly go to the fundraising channel of UNICEF. I will have to say that for most of the organizations, they only have this couple of source of income. Firstly is the public sectors, second the private sectors, and the last one is the corporation. For UNICEF, majority of their income comes from the governmental organization that occupy roughly 60%. And then the private sector's funding, including the publics and the corporations, that is 30%. The 7% comes from other UN agencies and the partner that they are working with, and the roughly 2% come from other revenues. All right, and then we go to the parts of Médecins Sans Frontières. They are called the Doctors Without Border. Short form is MSF. They are a wonderful organization. The mission is pretty much the same, helping people, but the difference with UNICEF is MSF, they helps only medical support, and they help every single person on the earth, whoever is needed. All right, they have 5 missions. I don't think so we'll have much time to cover every point. There are 3 quite important ones which I'll just quickly go through, which firstly is the medical ethics. They really respect the patient's will, culture, religion, and confidentiality. Secondly is the independence. So they want to be really a non-governmental organization, an NGO, that they don't want to be interfered with their work, what they do. End of the day, they just want to do their thing, get their job done. That's what they want. And the third one is the neutrality. They stand in the middle. They don't want to take any sides. Same, they just want to do their work, saving people's life. All right, and the next we'll be looking at the fundraising channel, the source of income of MSF. The different part from UNICEF, that is, majority of the income of MSF comes from the people, comes from the public. It occupies roughly 80% of their income. The rest, 13%, comes from the corporation, and only 6% are given by the governmental organization. The reason being is, if you take money from someone, you gotta listen to someone. And for their mission, that they don't want to be interfered by other groups for any reasons, they just simply don't take money. All right, sounds pretty cool, isn't it? Rightio, so next we're gonna be looking at the cost, divided into 3, admin cost, fundraising cost, and the field cost. Firstly, we start with the administration cost. Administration cost is when charity spends the money as indirectly incurred when carrying out the services, such as when the organization rent office to do the operations. That is a part of the admin cost. And a lot of people actually consider the admin cost as one of the indication whether the charity is good enough, spending money wise enough. But then admin cost cannot be the only indication on if it's a good charity or not, because there might be some organization that carrying out the services using the admin cost to give better results on the field. All right, so next will be just quickly compare on the admin cost of these two organizations. The data is coming from 2012 to 2016, when UNICEF placed the figure around 8.3 at 2012 and it's at 6.3 in 2016. You can see an improvement on this, decrement on the admin cost, which means they worth some money that is not worth spending, and they are really working out on that, which is a great thing to see. And for MSF, it is roughly throughout the 5 years, the admin cost is spent roughly 5 to 6%, which is great. All right, so next we'll be looking at the fundraising cost. So I usually tell people fundraising cost is just like there's a cake as a budget of an organization. You cut a slice of the cake, whatever percentage that is, to use, to invest, to create another cake for the next year. All right, so how do you actually make the effectiveness on the cost is the return of the investment has to reach that target or even exceed that targets. All right, and we'll be talking about something interesting here that you can imagine such a massive organization that can't be just having one office and operates, hundreds of countries. So both of the organizations that have branches, UNICEF, they have 34 national committees such as UNICEF Australia, UNICEF UK, UNICEF everywhere in 34 other countries. For MSF, there are 24 associations. Each of these branches, they are independent, non-governmental, they present the organization, speak of the organization, but they do have their own board of directors and presidents. Their main role is to raise funds, to raise awareness for the organization itself. All right, so since we can't really compare all the national committees in different countries, we're just gonna take an example of these two branches in Australia. All right, so we'll be looking at the UNICEF Australia, the fundraising cost during the time of 2012 to 2016. The average cost of fundraising is 26%, which is a little bit higher, which means like a quarter of the cake is spent on the fundraising cost to raise the cake. I mean, especially in 2013 and 14, they are almost like 35%, but they are working on it to at least reduce. And in 2016, last year, they managed to have 22%, which is lower than the average. All right. And then if you look at MSF Australia, the same data, the average cost of fundraising is 15%, which is a lot lower compared to UNICEF, which means they are actually spending money wisely. They are having a better return of investment, which means they will have more money to be spent on the field. And as I mentioned earlier, admin costs cannot be the only indication to see whether it's a good charity or not, but fundraising cost, it can be seen as the indication. All right, and next we'll be looking at the field cost, which is the most important part of a charity. We're gonna divide into 4 parts: when they work, where they work, what they work, and how effective it is. But due to the time limitation, we're just gonna straight go down to the bottom. How effective is their field cost? All right, so I mean, since these two organizations, they target completely different groups and different aspects of the help, we're just gonna take out the same field that both work at, that is medical and health. And the funny part is the budget, the funds that are actually being spent on the field are quite similar. For UNICEF, it's roughly 1.3 billion, while MSF is 1.1 billion. So if we look at how much help is delivered on the field with such money spent, for UNICEF, there are 2.5 billion doses of vaccination and 8 million kids are being treated with diseases. Alright, and for MSF, there are 16 different medical practices has been delivered on the field, which is quite a lot. But how are we gonna compare in this two figure? Is that we are looking at two perspectives. Firstly, we look at the number wise. There are roughly 20 million people are being helped by UNICEF, while for MSF, and while for UNICEF, there are 2.5 billion people being helped. Alright, so in the number wise, UNICEF did reach out a lot more people compared to MSF. But then as for effectiveness wise, MSF, since they are of course a medical specialized organization, the practices they are delivering on the field are much more. They reach out more aspects of the support. Also, a surgery cost can be a lot more costly than a vaccination. So if you can't really compare the price, the funds that are being utilized, but you see the people that are actually being treated and how they were afterwards. Alright, so alright, that's pretty much it what we're gonna talk about today. So quickly going through the conclusion, every organization has its own pros and own good and bad. Alright, I'm getting awkward now. For UNICEF, it definitely reaches out more people in the areas, but it's not as much as effective on its fundraising cost. And for MSF, it is very independent, very transparent on the spending, but it does not really cover that much areas and the people. Alright, so end of the day, when you're giving money, choose the better one to donate. Look at how they are spending money. That is the most important thing. We don't want our hard-earned money being wasted. So good luck and thank you so much for listening. It is very awkward once again, but I hope you enjoy it. Jai Shri Krishna.